Launching a new concept today called Places. And the first place we go to today, Century Bar, Dayton, Ohio. So as I mentioned at the top, we are going to get into a new series that I hope to do regularly, though I won't say I'll be doing it every week. It'll probably be as often as I can. And we're going to kick off today because we're in Ohio with family and whatnot at Century Bar, 18 South Jefferson Street, Dayton, Ohio. Now, some of you even outside the area may be familiar with the name or even familiar with the place because it's been named in Bourbon Review many times as a top bourbon bar in the United States, as well as winning many other numerous accolades. So the other night, Sarah and I went down, checked it out. We're going to get into plenty of details about the bar itself, the menu, and everything else. But the one thing that really caught our eye was in the front of their menu, they have a mission statement. And I can't think of many bourbon bars and cocktail bars that actually have a mission statement. So let's set the stage of everything we talk about today based off that mission statement. And in essence, what their mission statement says is they want to set forth a place that, obviously has wonderful libations in terms of pours and cocktails, but that they should hope those things drive conversations. Now, there's a few things that hit you right when you walk in the door. And one of those things is obviously just the way they've decked it out. And it looks a lot like a speakeasy when you really think about it. From the bar to the ceiling, it looks just as if there's some ornate, you're in a darker area, and it really plays really, really well. And they've paid close attention to detail in things such as even the architecture of how the ceiling and the sculptures around the ceiling. Now, we'll get into the liquid itself here in a few minutes, but the other thing you notice right away is they had very attentive staff. There was at least 2 or 3 staff when we started for the evening, and it wasn't very long when we sat down at the bar. Within a few seconds, we had some water delivered to us and asked if we had any questions and let us know with a friendly smile, hey, I'm ready to serve you whenever you're ready to have something to drink. So that was very nice. Of course, you hope that to be the case. It certainly was here. So by now, when you're at the experience, you've already taken in that there's over 850 whiskeys in front of you and 350 bourbons. And you probably saw that as you were noticing the architecture and you were greeted. But when you really get a sense for how full this bar is of whiskeys and bourbon, and still has a very decent vodka, gin, and tequila selection so they can do full cocktail menu, it really starts to set in that you have something that could be very special. So as you crack open the menu, it opens up with featuring a lot of their barrel selections. I think there was over a dozen available on this day. It also goes into some of the regular cocktails that you can order, signature cocktails in-house. Then gets into the bourbon menu as well. And I think I missed in there somewhere that they might also have their seasonal cocktails as well. So they give you a plethora of options. Everything is very, very well marked. The pricing is very clear. They call the 1 ounce pour a traveler and the 2 ounce a house pour. And these pours are essentially just price per ounce. There's really no difference. I didn't see anything on the menu where the 1 ounce pour was some factor of it. It was just 50% of the 2 ounce pour cost. There could be some in there, but I didn't happen to see them. And my comments overall on pricing, while I didn't take any sort of B-roll, everything that's non-highly allocated was very fairly priced. Their barrel picks were in line with what I would expect to see in other markets for barrel picks. Now, we did ask about 1 or 2 of the allocated products there because it does say pricing, ask server, essentially. And we did find that one that we asked about that was a BTAC product certainly was a little higher than I would expect to see in other places. But I also have to remember that, we're trying to make sure, based off their mission here, that they're not just, trying to blow out their BTAC. They want people to sit down and talk over pours based off their mission. So I really wasn't too off-put by that because I think it really does fit with the atmosphere they're trying to place. Because the other pours were very reasonable in most cases. I'm talking pours even down to $5 and $6 for 2 ounces. For some of those nice entry-level hitters like mellow corn, things like that. So certainly if you were just going in to look to have a drink and be social, maybe didn't have a lot of scratch in your pocket, you'd be okay. You don't necessarily have to coin up and expect to spend $10, $12, $15. Another example of this was their old fashioned. House old fashioned was $9. I mean, I can easily go to any chain restaurant and spend more than that. And this was all handmade, muddled by hand right in front of you. And so from that perspective, honestly, I'm going to say that's elevated for sure in my mind. So back to those barrel picks I mentioned a minute ago. The 2 barrel picks that we thoroughly enjoyed were the Weller Full Proof and the Old Forester Barrel Proof barrel pick. Now, on this day, that Old Forester barrel pick, hands down, was the best thing we had all day. It was so much cherry forward, so much vanilla forward, a nice oak, even a little bit of banana in there as well, which you might see from Old Forester, of course, as you know. And it was just so beautiful, 128 proof, and it didn't drink that way because it had a nice, beautiful balance of fruit sweetness along with that tannic oak, and then just melted so well together. That's not to say the foolproof was a slouch by any stretch of imagination. You just get different things out of a foolproof than you were getting out of that Old Forester. One of the best Old Forester picks I've had. And so that's another cool feature about their barrel picks that we learned there. So it's not just the owners going and doing the picks. They actually pull the bar staff to come do picks. So there's a lot of, buy-in and a lot of that synergy that you see because, the bartenders actually went and helped do the picks. And they actually even tell you whose pick it was, if it was Zach's pick or if it was Kelly's pick or if it was whoever. And I know I'm leaving a few of you guys out. I apologize. I didn't meet all of y'all. I only met a couple of them that night. But that's a neat thing because I know a lot of bar owners probably try to do that, but that's another part of living this mission because I think it allows that bartender to, again, extend that conversation, which we saw back in that mission statement. And there's a reason why I keep coming back to that because it's one thing to put out a mission statement. It's another thing to live it. And I hope what I'm expressing here is I see a ton of elements that prove they're doing everything they can to live it. So I really tried to express that I feel there was a really good overall value proposition here too. You don't have to go and expect to spend $100, $200, $300. When Sarah and I went the other night, we had 4 rounds and I then got 1 ounce pour of mellow corn just because I'm a big dumb animal and it's a guilty pleasure. Our bill came in at $99.98 for the night before tip. That's pretty daggone good. I just told you old fashions were $9. We had 1 round of old fashions, so that was $18. The Weller Foolproof came in at $20 for an ounce, and the Old Forester that we mentioned on the barrel pick came in at $12.50 an ounce. So think about that. I've told you 2 of the rounds came in at about $50. But if those sound like maybe they're still a little edgy or price range and things like that, let me help convince you here. So one of the other rounds we had was a 2 ounce pour of a Russell's Reserve pick that they had done. And that was $12 for 2 ounces. So again, very affordable. You can go in, with a little bit of money, a little scratch in your pocket, or you can go in and blow it out one night. They have everything available there as well. Having seen what the owners, Joe and Diana, have laid out and their vision and the execution of that vision, I am very impressed. It's a feather in the cap of Dayton, Ohio to have this place. I know it's been there a long time. The history of the Century Bar is not all bourbon. It used to be like a rock bar as we understand it. Not like rocks on the ground like rock bands. That's a really bad joke, I know, but you expect that from me at this point. So there's definitely been a crazy past, but about the last 10 years, it's really been a bourbon bar. And to be honest with you, my comparisons are essentially in the Kentucky market and the Florida market. I've not been to some of the other ones that you see on the list, like Jack Rose Dining Hall and things like that. But in terms of what I've seen in terms of Louisville, when you compare it to things like Neat, Doc Crow's, some of those other places that, put themselves out there, it holds its own. In fact, it would definitely put itself somewhere squarely on that list and not necessarily at the bottom of that list either. They hold themselves out just a different way. I mean, it's an enjoyable experience. The ambiance is there. I could see it where you just go in with a group of friends, or you could certainly start a date night or end a date night there. It really is one of those type of experiences where it's not catered to just one specific crowd. They really, truly mean come in, sit down, have a great pour, have a great cocktail, and then have some great conversation. I hope I've shown you a number of things here today that at least piqued your interest. If you ask me directly, Nate, should I visit the Century Bar in Dayton, Ohio? My answer is 100% yes. It is an excellent bourbon experience, but beyond that, it's an excellent environment to just sit and enjoy cocktails, enjoy pours, enjoy some other people's company, have a great chat with a bartender if that's what you're kind of having and what's happening. And they set the perfect environment to do that in. So absolutely stop in. Century Bar, Dayton, Ohio gets a huge thumbs up from this guy. If you've hung out this long, please be sure to click one of the other links above. And I can't thank you guys enough for all the support and all the love. Until next time, cheers.